So we have some new Halo Infinite details from the new monthly behind the scenes blog from 343 Industries called Inside Infinite, and this will give us a peek inside the development of the game and focus on different topics for each month. This month is focusing on the sandbox of the game, which we'll get into more later in the video what exactly sandbox means for those who don't know. And 343 has already revealed the topics for their next two blog posts. The one for next month I'm really excited about because they're going to be talking with the people that are bringing Zeta Halo to life. So I'm hoping to get more insight into the environment, maybe day-night cycles, things like that for Halo Infinite. That should be really exciting. And then in March, they're going to be talking with the audio team. Now, I'm not as excited for that one because we've already had plenty of audio stuff from the audio designers on Instagram. If you guys have been following there, or if you've been following the channel, I covered all that. However, there should still be some cool insights. Now make sure you guys stay tuned to the end of the video because your Lord and Savior Joseph Staten has another statement at the end of this blog that is probably going to excite a lot of people because they really liked what he had to say at the end of the last update on Halo Infinite. Now first, let's just take a look at this new piece of concept art for Halo Infinite, and you guys could see the new design of the Banshees, if that's exactly how they're going to appear in game. Obviously, concept art differs from what the actual render in game looks like, and it probably is a banished Banshee, and we know the banished have a more aggressive or brutal design to them, especially with their vehicles, their armor, and their weapons. So personally, I cannot wait to see this in game. Now 343 did say that we'll be getting these at the end of the month, preferably on the last Thursday of the month for these Inside Infinite looks. Now we also have end of month MCC development update blogs that I cover on the channel here too, so I will have my hands full. But if you guys want to stay absolutely up to date on all the latest happenings in the world of Halo, make sure you guys click the like button to support the content and subscribe if you're new here. Now if you guys have any questions for 343 after reading these blogs, or preferably watching a certain person's video on these blogs, then you guys can actually take to social media and use the hashtag Ask343 and ask any questions that you may have, and they may feature you in the community update blog that they do every month that usually appears in the middle of a month. Now the lead sandbox designer for Halo Infinite is Quinn Del Hoyo, and if you guys remember watching the sprint videos for Halo 5 Guardians, then you remember him as the multiplayer designer for Halo 5. He is now the leader for the sandbox team at 343. Now you may be asking, what exactly is a sandbox when it pertains to a video game? The sandbox refers to all the vehicles, equipment, weapons, and objects that the player interacts with. So all the fun stuff, basically. First, we'll talk about equipment, then I'll move on to the vehicles in the game, and then weapons, and we'll get into even more deeper stuff later in the video for those interested. So with equipment, they are tailoring each equipment and all sandbox features for that matter to the experience that they're being used. So whether it be multiplayer or campaign or whatever other mode that could be in Halo Infinite. So expect to see minor differences between the multiplayer and campaign versions of said equipment when you guys are using them. And I think that's really important to have a difference in the balancing of equipment and how it pertains to multiplayer versus campaign, because obviously they are very, very different beasts. Now, another design goal that they have with equipment is to have a low skill floor but a high skill ceiling. So in other words, they want beginner players to be able to benefit and be able to use equipment in a understandable way, but also have a level of mastery to the high skill players who've been playing the game to be able to use them in smarter ways. Now, something interesting to note that they said was compared to the recent Halo titles where you had more innate Spartan abilities, equipment in Halo Infinite creates fewer overall instances of change within the core combat loop. However, they can make those instances much more impactful and fun. Now, when some of the designers were asked what their favorite weapon, vehicle, or equipment was in Halo Infinite, especially if it hasn't been shown yet, if there were any hints as to why it may be their favorite, one of the designers said that the grapple shot is definitely their favorite of the bunch that they have shown. Not only does it feel fun to use, they said, but there's additional functionality that hasn't been revealed yet that adds more offense-focused gameplay that they're super excited to show off. Now, maybe this is grabbing weapons with the grapple shot, grabbing objectives, or maybe grappling into a moving warthog and hijacking it. How cool would that be? Another designer said the grapple shot is definitely a favorite of theirs, but they're equally excited about an equipment item that they haven't shown yet. It's highly physics-based and has tons of interactions across the sandbox of the game. It will leave you laughing or yelling, "Did you see that?" They said proper timing is everything with this equipment, and if you position yourself correctly, you could very well send your enemies flying. Now this could be something gravity-based, maybe something like a grav lift, but less boring maybe. Now let's talk about the vehicles and how vehicles will have different roles for the expansive terrain of Halo Infinite. Something that kind of is shared with the weapons as well that you guys will be excited to hear in the next segment of the video. But the leader of vehicle design at 343 for Halo Infinite acknowledged his biggest challenge for the game. They go on to say that to meet the fantasy of a more expansive Halo, they needed to unlock the environment artists and level designers to make much more complex terrain. And they had made that promise to those designers that if those designers made awesome looking environments, that they would make vehicles in the vehicle department to be able to traverse those environments. Now they have development builds of all the older Halo titles going all the way back, of course, to CE. And they say that the terrain in this Halo game is magnitudes more difficult, which has then caused a significant retuning of the core vehicles from what we remember in the previous title. But when you see the gorgeous environments of Infinite, they think it is well worth it. Now later in the blog post, they ask each of the designers what their favorite weapon, vehicle, or equipment is in Halo Infinite, and if it hasn't been shown off yet, if they can give any hints as to what it may be or why it's their favorite. As far as vehicles is concerned, they had two of the developers say something about vehicles. Quinn went ahead and said that one of the favorite sandbox items is a vehicle that they haven't shown yet, but he is sure he won't be alone with it being one of his favorites once they do reveal it to the community. This vehicle isn't totally brand new, he said, but it has received a fresh coat of paint while awaiting its triumphant return to Halo. What could this be, folks? Remember, if you guys have been around this channel for a while, when we are dissecting the audio stuff from Instagram, I said that something sounded really close to the Halo Reach Falcon. That is by far my favorite vehicle in Halo history. I think the Falcon is just so cool, especially compared to the Hornet and stuff. It allows for more teamwork, just the way it flies, the aesthetic of the vehicle, it just looks really cool. I'm going with that. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think this triumphant return of a vehicle could be. Now, as far as the lead vehicle designer at 343 for Halo Infinite, he said his favorite vehicle has to be the Warthog, right? There is no other choice. It is the GOAT. But they are working on a new vehicle that is looking pretty hot, he says. This new vehicle will sit nicely between the Warthog and the Scorpion in terms of power levels, so it could ignite some new discussion on what vehicle to take to a mission. So stay tuned to the channel, guys, to make sure you guys know when this new vehicle gets announced. You'll be the first to know. We're about to get into the weapons of the game, and this stuff is really exciting. Some new stuff to the Halo series as far as weapons and balancing goes. So 343 says they felt that in order to achieve stronger weapon identity than previous Halo titles, having another category of attributes that they can fold into their designs creates a stronger choice for the player. For example, if they had the damage type system that they're introducing in Halo Infinite that they did in Halo 4 when the light rifle was created, instead of having the DMR and the light rifle be similar minus the different visual effects and damage tuning, they would have weapon traits unique to the light rifle because it shoots hard light. So all hard light weapons would have unique attributes to them that aren't shared with your typical UNSC weaponry, or what they call kinetic damage type weapons, which I pointed out in my Halo Infinite all confirmed weapons video, that when you go to pick up a weapon, it actually tells you what kind of ammo type it is. It would say kinetic or plasma. Now we all know in Halo, plasma weapons do better against fully shielded enemies, things like that, but they're taking it to another level with Halo Infinite, and it's going to be really interesting to see how these weapons interact with the sandbox. With Halo Infinite, one of the goals is for the players to have stronger choices presented to them instead of using the weapon that you like simply because of how it shoots or handles. In Infinite, you might want to grab a certain weapon because of how it affects other players, the environment, or vehicles. In addition to further clarify the purpose of the legacy damage types like plasma or kinetic damage, the team has also been pursuing new surprises for the players that they are eager to talk about in the months ahead, so that is really exciting to hear as well. They said that they want weapons to feel diverse, even if they share the same damage type. This is clearly seen with the new Bulldog weapon the new shotgun. So the Bulldog is an exciting new shotgun weapon that is fast firing and fast loading. They felt that the shotgun playstyle has been underrepresented in previous Halo titles, particularly in the multiplayer side of things. They found that there are a lot of players that want to be that in-your-face, close quarters combat frontliner, but have never had a more readily available, less powerful, but still effective shotgun that allowed them to really go to that kind of playstyle. And that's basically how they came up with the idea for the Bulldog. So it's basically not a power weapon. It's a versatile weapon that provides the player the role of being a close quarters combat in your face kind of player, much like an SMG. Now, just like we did in the other sections, one of the designers said that the Ravager was one of their favorite sandbox items. It has changed a little too, they said, since they debuted it in the campaign reveal. Its role and playstyle have been pushed to allow for more area of denial play while still delivering a unique launcher style platform. Sounds really useful for maybe objective kind of game modes and multiplayer especially. Now, when asked what the Sandbox team is currently focused on, they said that the Sandbox team is super busy. They have everyone fixing bugs on their launch content and some exciting efforts kicking off for future updates, like new vehicles, equipment, weapons, etc. But they're pretty much playtesting at this point and squashing bugs. They said all of the content is in the game right now that we will actually see at launch, but they said that getting something from 90% ship quality to 100% is quite a different story. So they're pushing hard to squash the bugs and tune everything up, and they also said that maybe some things could be changing visually. They're taking the time to evaluate the visuals of certain sandbox items with the goal of ensuring everything is landing the way the art directors envision. So some sandbox items that they've previously shown off might be getting a facelift here and there by the time you guys see them again. And if you guys look at the render that they have here of the AR, it looks a lot more defined in this render than we saw in the gameplay trailer. So the colors look a lot more defined. It looks really nice, honestly. Now, this video has gone on way longer than I anticipated, and there's so much more to cover. So in a separate video, I'm going to talk about the PC development side of things for Halo Infinite and how it's not going to be a port, and that one of the major focuses at the studio is how this is going to rival other premier shooter experiences on that platform. In that video, I'll also cover some of the insight that they gave us on how they're going to be taking feedback into consideration when the game launches, because it is a live service game, and how they're doing that currently, and how they're going to communicate with the community about those changes, and how the game will also be evolving constantly. Now, I'll end the video by leaving you guys with the excerpt from Joseph Staten, the creative head of Halo Infinite at 343 Industries, and it's called Dances with Hunters. He says, "Ah yes, the combat dance. The beating heart of every Halo game. For grizzled Spartan veterans, this should be a familiar scene. Imagine a Forerunner interior, a timeless metallic vault with soaring ceilings. It's quiet, empty, except for a pair of hunters, shields up, shoulder spikes twitching, blocking your path forward. What to do? That's easy, I said to myself the first time I fought hunters in Halo Infinite. Bait them, get them to charge, then step aside, pivot, and direct as much firepower into their exposed, wormy backsides as you can before they turn and turtle. But when I tried these classic dance steps, the hunters had something else in mind. As expected, one of the hunters charged, exposing its weak spot. By the time I pivoted to face it, however, it had already pivoted to face me. That's odd, I thought. Must be a bug. I tried the dance steps again. Same result. Except this time, the second hunter filled my face with fuel rod projectiles, sending me scrambling for cover. Crouched behind a Forerunner pillar, shields fried, and health deep in the red, I had a quick think. What's different? Hunters turn faster. Okay, assume that this isn't a bug. What's the game trying to tell me? And what new dance moves have I got? As another volley of enemy fire rattled my virtual head inside my virtual helmet, I remembered I have equipment. Specifically, in the case of more reactive hunters, I have a grapple shot, which means I'm faster and more mobile too. I don't want to spoil your own fun of experimentation with a detailed description of what happened next, but suffice to say the grapple shot didn't cheese my encounter with the hunters. It actually deepened it, simultaneously made me feel more powerful and the hunters more intelligent. We all knew the rules had changed, but the hunters weren't going to let me dance on their graves without a fight. This is just one example from a single encounter, but for me, it encapsulates what's so exciting about the totality of the work that Quinn, Tim, David, Brian, Ellen, and Kevin and the entire Sandbox team have done to deepen and expand the Halo Combat Toolkit. It's great to feel the respect for the legacy. It's even better to experience how they've improved upon it. That my friends. Sounds awesome. Things are changing with Halo. It's still Halo, but with a little bit of a twist. Forget everything you know from previous games. This is going to be exciting. Cannot wait for this game. I desperately need a new Halo in my life. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for the future videos. I hope to catch you guys on either a previous video of mine or a future video of mine. Until that time comes, I am your boy Patman, and I am out.